Welcome to the Braybrooke Taproom course preview along the Griffin Trail and the Brampton Valley Way with Big Bear Events. So behind me on that grassy section there is where the HQ will be. At the end I'll show you where the car park is, but the car park is about 50 metres behind the big building behind me. So very, very close, no parking fees, really, really simple. But essentially we start there, you come back here each time. It's an out and back lap. All the descriptions on the website, so if you want a description there, you can read that. Otherwise, I'm going to take you around the course over the next few minutes. As soon as you come out of the HQ area, you go up some very gentle rises. It's very rolling around here, but you are sort of greeted by what you will be seeing throughout, which is just fields. But as you can see behind me, the terrain you're going to be going along is a sort of crushed stone, gravelly sort of terrain. So you'll have the lovely views of the wheat fields. I'm going to say wheat, let's just say arable fields. But you won't have to worry about breaking your ankle on, ploughed fields and so on and so on. So the terrain here is absolutely perfect for running, absolutely lovely. I am recording this, I think I've already said, but I'm recording this in October. So if you are doing an event with us in the summer, this will all look a little bit more yellow, hopefully, and a little bit taller behind. But it's still fields. The whole point of these videos are for you to get a bit of an understanding of what you're going to see as you go around, but also the underfoot conditions, really. That's the main bit that is the factor. But depending on what time of year you come, obviously it's going to depend what you see, because this is worked farmland, so it just depends what stage of the harvest they're at. After about a quarter of a mile, you have your first little decision point where you have to pay attention to the signs, because we're going to start by carrying on up this path, go around the corner, get to a gate, effectively tap the gate, come back down this path, and then go along that path and sort of do the same thing, really. Go to another point, tap the sign, turn around, and then go all the way back to the start. So it's sort of got three legs, I guess, to the course, but that corner there is going to be very well marked, but you need to know which way you're going when you get there. So we'll probably have a volunteer there for the first lap just to help people get through, but it is going to be heavily marked, don't worry about that, but just something to bear in mind. The really beautiful thing about this course is just the absolute silence. So apart from my feet crunching on the ground, there's just no sound here at all. So you really are out in the middle of nowhere, really amongst the fields. I don't know what they're growing in there at the moment. Lettuce, cabbage, I don't know. But obviously it all changes each year. It depends what time of year, as I've said already. But it's just absolute silence, and the views. If this was a lovely sunny day, as it was when I came running here in the summer of this year, it was just absolutely beautiful to be running sort of through the fields, but like I say, on some decent surface, so you don't have to worry about where your feet are going so much. You can just look up and enjoy the views. After about 3/4 of a mile, you get to this gate at the end here, the end of the Griffin Trail. All you need to do is go all the way up to the gate, give the gate a tap, and then turn back round. On the first lap, you'll just have to be sensible. So, kick the bar, turn around, and off we go. Kicking the bar is some strange tradition from Aberystwyth seafront from when I went to university. It wasn't just us that did it, it was a whole thing. There were signs up that when you got to the end of the pier, or the end of the seafront, sorry, you had to kick the bar. I don't know why, but but it sort of sticks 20 years on. But yeah, so you'll do a little out and back along here on the Griffin Trail, and we're going to get back to that junction that I mentioned earlier, and then we're going to sort of follow the Griffin Trail out onto the Brampton Valley Way. Once you get back to the little junction and you make your left turn, you then start the slow climb, and it's a climb, but it's not much really, but you'll feel it if you're here all day, that's for sure. And it'll be lovely to run back in on the way back. It's that sort of gradient. But again, I think I've probably said it in every single clip, just fields, but this perfect runnable surface as well. So it'll be, if it's going to be, this is in the summer that you're doing an event with us here, you can see there's, I don't know, one tree for a bit of shade. You'll be baking alive out here. If this is a hot day, it's going to be a tough day. The dust will kick up. There's not much protection from the sun, and it'll be a tough day out. But it is beautiful views to look at. It really, really is. I can't emphasize that enough. I rarely get to run through fields like this, and there's probably only 3 weeks in the spring and 3 weeks in the autumn where the ground, when you go through farmers' fields, isn't either too rutted and hard and break your ankle, or too wet and muddy and it's just a mud fest. So to be able to effectively cut through the middle of it on this Griffin Trail is excellent. I don't know the complete history of this trail, but I do know that it was reopened 2 years ago as I record this. I think 2023, I think, or they made improvements to it or something like that. But they made the improvements from the taproom, so it then links the taproom to the Brampton Valley Way, which is a very popular sort of cycling running route, old railway. Yeah, it's a really top little thing to have that I guess quite a few people don't know about. So hopefully we'll introduce people to it, and you can use the taproom, which looks absolutely amazing as well. So the only section that isn't completely paved or covered in crushed stone is this one small field that I believe is owned by somebody else who didn't want to put a path across. But it's, I don't know, 100 metres, maybe that. So it is dry. It's been relatively wet and damp, I guess, at time of recording, but the ground is dry and cracked. I think as more people use the Griffin Trail, it'll probably become more dry and cracked and more obvious. But in the summer, if you're coming here for a summer event, which is probably going to be most of the time, this will be lovely and runnable. And if you want to use road shoes, you'll be absolutely fine, because although we are in the middle of effectively a farmer's field, it's not rutted. You don't need to worry at all about your feet, about your footing as you go along here. But it is notable that this is the one section where it's not paved, I guess would be the right term. Once you've crossed the little field, you then come down a couple of little steps, and then you're on the Brampton Valley Way. So we're heading towards Market Harborough. We only go a few hundred metres, and then we turn around and we go back into the taproom the way that we came out, the most direct way back. Brampton Valley Way, as I said already, very, very popular with people coming to do long runs. There are events that use the Brampton Valley Way. We currently don't. Whether we'll do in the future, who knows? But it's beautiful to come along here. Again, nice and peaceful. You'll have a little bit of cover here if it is a really hot day, but there'll be no cover in the sort of height of the sun. But you'll get a little bit of protection from the shrubs and things that are around me here. But like I say, we only go along here a little way, until we turn around and then run back to the start. Just after the route opens up and you've got the crossings into the field, you get to these trees that are sort of overgrown a tiny bit, and this will be where the turnaround point is. And then, simple as that, we head back. There will be signage here to make sure that you do turn around. We'll check the signage in the morning to make sure it's still there. I don't want you going to Market Harborough. For reference, you turn around just after the 2 mile mark. So, you know, we'll obviously tell people on the day the rough sort of distances, but you'll be absolutely fine. This is a route that's used by some people, but it's not overly busy. It's very much a sort of place for dog walks and bike rides and things like that. So 1 or 2 arrows out won't cause any bother. This route is pretty much flat, but there is a definite up and down on the sort of main path as you go sort of out and then back in. So you can see I'm sort of peaking where you can see the finish and the tap room over there. You can see the course behind me that I've just come up. So it's not hilly at all. It really isn't. The downhill is a beautiful gradient for running. I'm going to take a stab at maybe 3 or 4%, something like that, which makes it noticeable when you're going up it, not so noticeable when you're going down it, but then you sort of realise later on, oh, actually that was a downhill. But it does mean that you've got these beautiful views across some Northamptonshire countryside. It really is a very beautiful place. I've said Northamptonshire, I'm 99% sure it's Northamptonshire. I think this is one of these strange places where they've got a Leicester postcode, but it's technically in Northamptonshire, I think. You'll work it out, and sorry if I've offended anybody by getting your county wrong. But it's a beautiful place just outside Market Harborough. I'd imagine very few people would have been here before, which is why I was really keen to get this video done. It's not the nicest of days. It also doesn't really show it off in the best possible way because it's a lot nicer here in the summer. But I didn't want to wait until the summer to show people what the course looked like, because that's a long way away. It's October at the moment. So I'd imagine this video will get superseded with one with bright blue sky and golden fields as well. But this gives you an idea as to what to expect when you come here to the taproom. Just a few hundred metres now away from the finish of the lap. And I just thought I'd mention, so if you've not done out and back courses before, you might think, oh, I don't want to do that. That'd be rubbish. And there are downsides to it. You know, I'm not gonna say that it's the best format ever, but it is really nice when you get to interact with people as you run. So the out and back sections, on the first lap it's a little bit different because you're sort of in a big long snake effectively. But after sort of lap 2, people are all over the place. And so you just get to see lots of people all the time. So rather than lonely trail running on your own out in the fields, which is great sometimes, but it's also nice, especially when you're in smaller events, to not feel too lonely and to interact with people a little bit. And it just adds something different. So if you've done them before, out and backs, and you know you don't like them, I'm not trying to convince you otherwise, but if you've never tried it, I'd suggest trying it. See what you make of it, and again, if you don't like it afterwards, don't do another one. But it's definitely something that you should try, because it's just something a little bit different than the normal loop event or point to point or whatever it is. That out and back just does add something different to the event, especially if you're used to being either right out front or right at the back. You don't tend to see people. Either you're going really quickly or quite slowly, and so you don't tend to have loads of people around you. Whereas on these events, even if you're going to come and run 50 miles here in 6 hours, you're going to see loads of people. Whereas if you were out doing this, running a loop, you wouldn't really interact with people that much. So it's just a little thought there. And that is the course we use out of the Braybrooke Taproom. As you cross the little bridge you can see behind me there. You start coming back in towards the tap room that you can see there. The A station and the HQ will be on your right hand side as you come in. Loads of gazebos. Just behind the great big canister that says tap room, if you can see that in the distance, that is where the toilets are. So the toilet's nice and close as well. And the cafe's in there, the parking's just behind. I'll show you that in a moment. But yeah, come and join us, see when we're next here. Look on bigbeerevents.net and you'll see when we're next at the Braybrooke Taproom. Parking here is simple. Loads of spaces behind me there, and then the start is just through that little gap there, and that's the tap room behind me as well. So really simple to park, just off the main road. The beauty of parking at a farm, but without having to go down horrible farm tracks. So it's just a beautiful place here. Really nice spot, but there's plenty of parking here. Might not look massive, but they've done quite a good job of organising it, so we'll easily fit everybody in this section.